Good morning. We know that our body needs a point-to-point coordination, and for that point-to-point coordination we require human neural system or human nervous system. And if you go for the human nervous system consists of generally two parts: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system again it constitutes about brain and spinal cord. It constitutes about brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system again it actually know about the nerves that arises from the brain, that is we call it as cranial nerves, and the nerves that arises from spinal cord, that we call it as spinal nerves. So 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves can be read under peripheral nervous system. Again, peripheral nervous system is divided into somatic nervous system and autonomous nervous system. If you go for somatic nervous system, the somatic nervous system actually relays the impulses from central nervous system to skeletal muscles, whereas the autonomous nervous system will transmit the impulses from central nervous system to involuntary muscle organs and smooth muscles. Now today let us concentrate on to the central nervous system, and it consists of a brain vessel. Now brain is actually considered as a think tank or super living computer. Think tank or super living computer. Now we could know about the different parts of the brain with the help of functional magnetic resonance imaging. Functional magnetic resonance imaging, which we shortcutly we call it as fMRI. Now, if you go for the brain, in case of human beings, the brain is again divided into three lobes. Forebrain or prosencephalon, midbrain or mesencephalon, hindbrain or rhombencephalon. So, in case of human brain, it is four lobes, and all the three lobes of the brain, that is forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain, they are all covered by means of three meninges. And in case of human being, the brain will measures about 1.4 kgs or 3 lbs, which we call it as pounds. Now, it is enclosed in a cranial cavity and it is covered by means of three meninges. They are outer dura mater, middle arachnoid mater and inner pia mater. Outer dura mater, it is an outermost thick double layered membrane which is made up of fibrous tissue, and it is actually lying closer to the inner lining of cranial cavity. Then middle is a thin webby layer which is made up of delicate connective tissue. Arachnoid matter is a thin middle webby layer and it is composed of delicate connective tissue. Then pia mater, it is the innermost layer of the brain and it is made up of thick connective tissue. And there is a gap between a space between arachnoid matter and pia matter, which we call it as a subarachnoid space, which is filled with cerebrospinal fluid, which we call it as CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. And now this cerebrospinal fluid, it is formed by anterior choroid plexus and posterior choroid plexus. Now this cerebrospinal fluid not only formed by anterior choroid plexus and posterior choroid plexus, but these choroid plexus will allow the cerebrospinal fluid to pass into the ventricles of brain, which we call it as cavities. And now this cerebrospinal fluid means what? It is an alkaline colorless fluid, which is actually acting as a medium for transferring of some nutrients and elimination of waste, that is metabolic waste. That means it is actually helpful in giving protection to the inner parts of the brain by removing the toxic substances from the brain. Now coming to the forebrain. So already I said that in case of human being, brain has got 3 lobes. Forebrain or prosencephalon, midbrain or mesencephalon, hindbrain or rhombencephalon. Now let us go for forebrain. So these are the parts, ma. Before continuing the structure of brain, let us revise what we have learnt till now. We already learned that for performing different metabolic activities, a point-to-point coordination is necessary, and that point-to-point coordination is done only with the help of specialized integrating complex structure, which we call it as a neural system or nervous system. In case of human beings, the nervous system is divided into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system will consist of brain and spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system actually it gets the nerves that are arising from the brain, which we call it as a cranial nerves, and the nerves that arise from the spinal cord, that we call it as spinal nerves. So in case of human beings, there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Again, peripheral nervous system is divided into sympathetic nervous system, that is somatic nervous system, and autonomous nervous system. Somatic nervous system will help in relaying the transmissions from central nervous system to the skeletal muscle fibers or skeletal muscle organs, whereas the autonomous nervous system will transmit the impulses from central nervous system to voluntary organs and smooth muscle organs. And again, autonomous nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers, and these nerve fibers extends from the central nervous system and innervate to different parts of involuntary organs that are actually present in the body. Now coming to the central nervous system, brain. In case of human being, brain measures about 1.4 kg or 3 lbs, that is which we call it as pounds, and it is enclosed in a cranial cavity of the skull or cranium. Now the brain is protected by means of 3 meninges. Outermost double layered membrane, which we call it as dura mater, and it is made up of a fibrous tissue. Middle thin webby layer called as arachnoid matter, and the inner pia mater, which is actually lying closer to the brain, and it is made up of thick connective tissue. Now these are the different parts of the brain that we call it as forebrain. Consists of 3 parts actually: olfactory lobes, cerebral hemispheres, and diencephalon. Then midbrain consists of thalamus, hypothalamus and epithalamus. Then hindbrain consists of pons varolii, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Now let us go for different. First today let us only concentrate on cerebellum, that we call, that is cerebrum, that let us have. Now, forebrain are prosencephalon. Again it consists of three parts: olfactory lobes, cerebrum, which we call it as telencephalon, and diencephalon. Diencephalon is also called as thalamencephalon. Thalamencephalon. Now let us go for olfactory lobes. A pair of olfactory lobes bean-shaped olfactory lobes, they are located on the ventral surface of cerebral hemisphere. Suppose if this is a cerebral hemisphere, there is ventral side. On the ventral side, some bean-shaped structures are present, which we call it as olfactory lobes. And now these two olfactory lobes are actually helpful in perceiving the sensory impulses from olfactory epithelium. Now coming to the cerebrum or telencephalon. Now this we call it as entire structure that we have drawn here is cerebral hemisphere. That is the outer surface of the cerebral hemispheres, it has got number of convolutions or folds, which we call it as gyri and sulci. Gyri and sulci. And generally the cerebrum is divided into two parts again. So if you go for cerebrum, the cerebrum again it is classified into cerebral cortex and cerebral medulla. Already we said that the outermost part of the cerebrum, it has got several foldings or convolutions, and let us have a diagrammatic representation like this. There are two cerebral hemispheres, which we call it as cerebral cortex, and inner one is called as cerebral medulla. How could we distinguish these two? Generally, cerebral cortex is grey in color, which we call it as grey matter. Now, what is the reason for the appearance of grey color in cerebral cortex? The cerebral cortex will consist of 10 billion pyramid-shaped or spindle-shaped neurons with satellite cells, and they appear in grey color appearance or greyish-blue color appearance. Hence, we call the cerebral cortex as grey matter. Now, cerebral medulla is white in color because of the presence of only medullated neurons. As more number of medullated neurons are concentrated in the cerebral medulla, it is considered as white matter. And as more number of, there is 10 million neurons along with the satellite cells are concentrated in the cerebral cortex, which appears grey color, hence we call it as a grey matter. Now let us have a diagram of cerebrum which has got 4 lobes again. As I have already said that the cerebrum, outer surface of the cerebrum will consist of number of foldings called as gyri and sulci. Sulci are the shallow depressions and deeper fissures are called as gyri. And due to the presence of expansion of this cerebral cortex, actually it measures about 2 to 4 millimeters in thickness now. Okay, 2 to 4 cerebral cortex has got 2 to 4 meters in thickness. Now it consists of shallow depressions called as sulci and deeper fissures called as gyri. And this presence of sulci and gyri will indicate the expansion, and the expansion of this cerebral cortex will indicate, it is actually an indication for the human evolution. That is the changes that occur in the human evolution. Now let us have a diagram of cerebrum. Why? Because the cerebrum has got 2 cerebrums are present in cerebral hemispheres. The 2 cerebral hemispheres, it has got 4 regions. So if you go for the cerebrum, it has got 4 regions: frontal lobe, 4 lobes I said, frontal lobe, parietal lobes, occipital lobe and temporal lobe. Okay, the 2 cerebral hemispheres, if we take this is right and left cerebral hemispheres, and the 2 cerebral hemispheres, let us have the diagram once again with gyri and sulci. So these we call it as gyri and shallow depressions is called as sulci. Now the 2 cerebral hemispheres, they are separated by means of a longitudinal fissure, and we call it as right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere, and this we call it as longitudinal fissure. Internally, the 2 cerebral hemispheres, they are connected by means of a transverse, wide, flat nerve band called as corpus callosum. What is corpus callosum? It is a transverse, wide, flat nerve band that connects the 2 cerebral hemispheres internally. Okay. Now, why the cerebral hemisphere, that is the entire cerebral hemisphere is divided into 4 lobes: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal and occipital lobe. First let us go for frontal lobe. Frontal lobe actually is helpful in integrating the emotional actions, interpretation of emotional actions, then fear, abilities, personality development, All these are the different functions that is performed by frontal lobe. Now coming to the parietal lobe, actually it is helpful for in perception of cold, heat, touch and pain. Then coming to the temporal lobe. Temporal lobe actually it is helpful in auditory, that is coding and interpretation of auditory, that is sound reception and smell. And occipital lobes, they are actually helpful in decoding and interpretation of visual, color, that is vision, color and shape. So these are the different functions of the lobes of cerebellum, or which we call that is cerebrum, or which we call it as the cerebral hemispheres. Now it consists of, again, the cerebrum consists of four, that is mainly three areas, that is sensory area, which actually helpful in interpretation, and actually it receives the sensory impulses from different organs of the body. Then motor, premotor area, motor area, and it actually helpful in controlling the voluntary movements of the body. And another last one is associated area. Associated area, it is neither sensory nor motor. It is neither sensory nor motor. I said that sensory area, it is actually helpful in perceiving the sensory impulses from different parts of the body. Motor area is helpful in controlling the voluntary movements of the body. And saying that associated areas, they are actually neither sensory nor motor, but perform integrating functions of the body, like integrated functions like emotions and performing different activities of the body. And apart from that, one more area is there, Broca's area. One more area is called Broca's area, which we call it as speech area. And another area is called as Wernicke's area or Wernicke's, which is helpful in language comprehension. Now coming to the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe, they are separated by means of the frontal lobe and parietal lobe, they are separated by one fissure or sulcus, which we call it as central sulcus, and another fissure is called as, which separates frontal lobe with temporal lobe. Frontal lobe and temporal lobe, they are separated by means of another fissure called as fissure of Sylvianus. Fissure of Sylvianus or lateral sulcus. So today we have seen only in the brain, that is forebrain, we are going to learn about the cerebrum. Okay, cerebrum actually it is divided into two parts, cerebral cortex and cerebral medulla. Cerebral cortex will consist of generally 10 million neurons, and which are pyramidal shaped or spindle shaped, and along with some satellite cells, and all these cells are greyish in color, and due to the presence of greyish color, the cerebral cortex is also called as grey matter, whereas the remaining part of the cerebrum is white matter because it consists of only myelinated neurons. Now if you go for the cerebrum, it consists of 4 parts as well: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe and occipital lobe. Frontal lobe actually helpful in integrating the complex actions like emotional activities, fear, abilities and immediate responses and also personality development. Motor area is helpful in controlling the voluntary movements. Temporal actually is helpful in perceiving the smell, that is receiving the smell, and occipital lobe is actually helpful in receiving the visual interpretation, that is decoding and interpretation of visuals, that is vision, color and shape, decoding and interpretation of smell and emotions with audition, that is auditory, is a function of temporal lobe. Then it consists of mainly 3 areas: motor area, sensory area and associated area. Sensory area, the name itself is helpful in it receives the sensory impulses and controls the sensory voluntary actions. Then motor area is actually helpful in controlling the voluntary movements. Then associated area is said. Associated area is neither sensory nor motor, but it performs an integrated complex function like emotional feelings and communication. Now the frontal lobe and parietal lobe, they are separated by means of a fissure called as central sulcus. Okay, and frontal lobe and temporal lobe are again separated by means of lateral sulcus, which we call it as fissure of Sylvius. Fissure of Sylvius. And apart from 2 areas are also present: Broca's area, which is completely concentrated on speech ability, and Wentham's area, which is actually helpful in language comprehension. Okay, bye. Tomorrow let us continue the topic.